I've been waiting for months to see what happens at the New Day 10th anniversary celebration. I think we all have. We have our theories. I have my theories. Is Xavier Woods going to turn heel? Is Big E going to save the day? Maybe Kofi's going to be the one to turn. We don't know, but I don't think any of us thought it was going to be what happened. I also don't think any of us realized how truly heartbreaking it would be. These are my assorted thoughts on the December 2nd, 2024 WWE RAW. Welcome to Silo Voice Wrestling on YouTube and the Silo Voice Wrestling podcast from Silo Voice Studios in Montreal. I'm Jason C. McLean. Make sure you like, share, subscribe, and ring that bell for notifications to get all my wrestling hot takes, cold takes, simmering takes, WWE Premium Live Event prediction videos, reviews, wrestling opinion pieces, assorted thoughts on SmackDown, and of course, Raw. Now, I'm recording this December 3rd, 2024. It's just after 2:30 in the afternoon, so I've seen Raw, and yes, I've also seen Survivor Series War Games. Now, for those of you who do subscribe and are following the release in order, no, I haven't skipped my review of War Games. I've started working on it. I'm going to continue working on it. It takes actually a lot more time to make those than to make these because I describe the matches, I give my ratings, the whole thing. That one's actually going to come out after this one. That one's probably going to come out Wednesday or Thursday. I'm going to try and get a regular schedule with this. And the Raw and SmackDowns and opinion pieces are going to come out on schedule. So look forward to that one. Let's get right into this Raw with it wasn't the end of the show, but it's what everyone was waiting for. The New Day 10th anniversary celebration. After last week's stellar but really intense promo exchange backstage between Xavier Woods and Kofi Kingston, I think we all knew that, even if we already knew that it was going to come to a head. And they came out, they were pleasant, but then obviously the reality set in, and I liked how they were sort of framing it as like a divorce, like it's not your fault to the audience, as though us watching and those in the arena are their kids, and mom, I guess two of them are splitting up and it's not our fault. Maybe they're going to share custody of us. I don't know. I thought that was a really interesting way to frame it. But of course, we knew that this version of the New Day wasn't going to last without some outside interference, and that's what happened. But the save didn't exactly happen the way we thought it would. We all knew Big E was going to come down, and I think we all knew he was going to try and save the day. The question was whether or not Xavier Woods would be behind it. And if he wasn't behind it, obviously Xavier Woods would turn heel. Well, Xavier Woods wasn't behind it and did turn heel, but so did Kofi. Wow. That was brutal. They were, again, like it's the Triple H era. The heel turns have a logic to them. Makes sense. Like they legitimately felt they were abandoned by Big E. Now, obviously, Big E had a serious injury and couldn't be there, but they made a point by saying he could have been there as a manager or something. Like, they didn't just, accept it. And they both turned heel on Big E, and that was harsh. That was rough. I don't think anyone had Xavier and Kofi turning heel on Big E. Now, whether this means Big E is almost cleared and is going to come back and is going to fight them and maybe ultimately reunite them, that's anyone's guess. But I think for the next little while, we're going to have a heel type. They were already saying, I think, New Day sucks instead of New Day rocks. Like, I'm wondering how a heel New Day is going to work. They're going to have to change the music. They can't be too pleasant. They're obviously going to start turning on the fans. I wanted them to stay babyface forever. I think everyone did, but this was very sad to watch, but it was also effing brilliant. Like they pulled this off really well. This is probably the only way you could do a proper New Day heel turn, as if they both turn on someone beloved like Big E. No one thought of it, but it's honestly the thing that makes the most logical sense. Why should they be against each other when they're both mad at one guy? Like, it's kind of hard to put this into words. Just the very basic thing. This was very sad to watch. I was out of WWE. I had stopped watching for a while, so I didn't really see a lot of the New Day, but I got to know them in the past few years, and these guys are fun. They're great. They're great baby faces. And they're the last people you'd expect at this point to turn heel together. But it makes perfect sense that they did. Hopefully I'm explaining that well. I think we're all a little bit shocked. Really sad. I'm really sad. And I'm also really impressed at this booking choice and the way they pulled it off. Definitely the most memorable segment on the show, and maybe the most memorable segment the whole year, or even in the last, and it even tops last week's segment. Last week's segment was visceral, but it made sense. This made even more sense and was even more sad. Of course, this show had a main through line. It started with CM Punk pointing at a non-existent sign, like, you sure you were okay after the last match, buddy? Anyways, obviously, when we heard before that CM Punk was going to start the show, we figured it was going to start like this. Predictably, Seth Rollins interrupted for a very heated exchange. Surprisingly, it was Jey Uso and Sami Zayn who did the pull apart. And then we got a very fiery and logical promo exchange. Sami Zayn and Seth Rollins both made perfect sense in this promo, and they both dug really deep. They went back in time. Sami went 10 years back for the chair shot that basically created the tribal chief, or turned Roman, what have you. And Seth, he brought up the logical fact that Sami did the exact same thing to the exact same guy. And there was a lot of food for thought in this. It was really intelligent, yet passionate promo work. I mean, okay, the thing with the New Day kind of outdid this, but at the time, this was like, wow, this is one of the best exchanges I've seen in a while. Like, they have done stuff like this in the lead up to WrestleMania. I guess we're back in the lead up to WrestleMania, even though we're just after Survivor Series. But like, yeah, that was a hell of a way to start the show, especially commercial free. It just rolled from one thing to the other, to this. As people were waiting for the Seth and Sami match later in the show, someone attacked Jey Uso. Another whodunit mystery. I even joked to my brother who I was watching the show with that this was the interbrand attacker. The same person attacked Jade Cargill and attacked Jey Uso. But there was a lot of speculation. I mean, I was speculating, obviously. I was trying to figure out who did it. I was like, okay, it's logically Seth, but it's not going to be Seth. It doesn't seem to be Seth's style. Like, I was really confused. I was like, could it be, the bloodline? But I mean, no, they're trying to make Jey and Sami and Punk back on Raw for the moment, and Roman and crew and Solo on the other show. I don't think there's going to be a crossover. Bronson Reed was even injured at War Games, so probably wasn't him. And I was like trying to think of who it could be. Who was it that I wasn't thinking of? There was someone who was like, where none of us are thinking of that it's going to be. The Seth and Sami match was short, but of course a good one. Really skilled performers on both of them. Sami got really intense with the chair, but Seth talked him down, only to roll him up for the win and then telling him to think. Now, to be honest, after Seth rolled him up and got the win, I thought he was going to pick up the mic and in a la Attitude Era Higher Power say, "It was me, Sami. It was me all along." Of course, with more nuance and intelligence. But of course, it wasn't Seth. After Seth left, Claymore, it was Drew McIntyre in a hoodie. I'm pretty sure somebody talked to Joe Tessitore before saying, okay, it's going to be Drew McIntyre. Say it's Drew McIntyre, but don't mention the fact that he's in a hoodie. He's clearly wearing a hoodie. After the other one. Anyways, I'd honestly forgotten about Drew. I mean, it's very poetic. This whole little saga of the night started with CM Punk, finished with Drew McIntyre. The question is Drew mad at Sami and Jey because of their association with Roman, or because they teamed with CM Punk? Or maybe a little from column A, a little from column B. Now, they're obviously not going to go back to Drew and Punk. At least I hope they're not. But Drew versus Jey, Drew versus Sami, like, this is a direction I didn't think they were going to. Last year, I was really hoping they were going to maybe somehow have Drew versus Sami at WrestleMania. Instead, they ended up having Sami versus Gunther and having the great upset and amazing WrestleMania moment. And Drew had an even funnier, memorable moment when he won the world title and then lost it right away because of his obsession with CM Punk. But regardless, this was really well played, well done. I'd completely forgotten about Drew, but it makes perfect sense that it was Drew. Again, the I guess hiding in plain sight. Like we knew, like, Drew's name. I was thinking the whole time, like, okay, who attacked Jey? It's got to be someone I'm not thinking of. Who's been out for a while? that hasn't been mentioned? Of course it's Drew. Wow, this was a brilliant end to the show, and I'm looking forward to see where this goes. The first triple threat match in the Women's Intercontinental Championship tournament was a solid one, and I'm quite happy Dakota Kai won. Good to see Katana Chance back. She did a great job in the match. There were some really fun spots. I like how she tried to pin both of them. One didn't work. She went for the other one. That's how you do a triple threat match. Shayna Baszler looked tough, but of course, she's the submission magician, and trying to win by a submission in a triple threat match is not really the best plan. So it actually makes perfect sense that Dakota Kai won. And I'm also really happy because I think Damage Control needs some more titles. And I was hoping Zelina Vega would win this tournament, but looking at the brackets, I don't think she's going to make it to the final. So I'm going for Dakota Kai in this tournament. Good job in this match. Speaking of Damage Control, sort of, the Io Sky, Kairi Sane versus Raquel Rodriguez and Liv Morgan match was pretty much an excuse to get Rhea Ripley on the show. Now, don't get me wrong, it was also setting up for Saturday night's main event, and we found out that Io Sky, Liv Morgan's going to be on that show. Wow, that's a really good show. I'm looking forward to it. I don't know if Io's going to win there, so it'd be nice if they focused a bit more on her versus Liv, made it a real feud without having to bring in Rhea. But of course, you got to bring in Rhea because Rhea's mommy, you got to have her on the show. So decent match, decent way to start the show. And yeah, I'm okay with the ending. The other through line was the Judgment Day through line. They had the bit with this match, but then they also had the bit with Finn Balor talking to Liv backstage. They might be teasing some dissension in the Judgment Day. Not sure how I feel about that. But that through line continued with Dominic Mysterio fighting and hilariously almost beating Gunther, which was fun to watch. And yes, it's a non-title match, so he theoretically could have beat Gunther, but no, they're not going to do Gunther that dirty after he lost to Cody Rhodes and after he needed help to win, quote-unquote, with from Finn Balor. But mainly, Finn Balor attacked him after the match. And this set up another match for Saturday night's main event for the World Heavyweight Championship, Gunther versus Finn Balor. Now, I was hoping that what happened at Survivor Series wasn't going to lead to another Damian Priest, Finn Balor match, because we've already had that. I'm tired of that. But you know what? Actually, it made sense. It led to a Finn Balor Gunther match, which if he's not going to be fighting Punk or his next big opponent, that's actually an interesting match. I kind of want to see that match. I mean, I'm hoping Priest doesn't come down. I'm hoping Gunther just beats Finn Balor. The question is, who's going to be the heel? I think they're actually trying to make Balor the heel because they're making Balor really bitter even at the other Judgment Day members. I think they were almost turning Dom babyface with that match for a little bit, but I mean, Dom's the most hated heel in the company, what have you. But I wouldn't be surprised if people cheer for Gunther in this match. So this was an interesting setup, and I kind of like where it's going. And R-Truth got a win. I don't know what this means for Pete Dunne's future, but I did think it was funny how it was literally the crowd that gave him the assist. The crowd was doing the outside interference because Dunne focused on them calling him Butch, got distracted, and R-Truth took advantage. I thought that was really clever. And these were my assorted thoughts on the December 2nd, 2024 WWE RAW. Yes, there was more build for the Wyatt 6 versus Final Testament and Miz, which was good, but it was just build and set up a 8-person match for next week, which I'm interested in. The show also set up or confirmed 2 other matches on the Saturday night's main event card, which has 4 matches already. It looks really solid. Maybe they'll go to 5. Maybe it'll be like a standard PLE. So that was good. There was really good development with the, I guess, Bloodline or former OG Bloodline, and bringing Drew McIntyre back in, bringing Punk in. There was great setup for that story. And of course, one of the most memorable and sad promos of all time. Overall, this was a really solid episode of Raw. Do you agree with my thoughts? Let me know in the comments. Follow at Silo Voice Wrestling on Facebook and Instagram, at Silo Wrestling on X, and me at Jason C. McLean on X and Instagram. And make sure you like, share, subscribe, and ring that bell for notifications. I will be back with my review of Survivor Series War Games, which actually happened before this show, which I'm giving my assorted thoughts on, and then my assorted thoughts on SmackDown. For Silo Voice Studios in Montreal, I'm Jason C. McLean.